Welcome everyone to a casted game for Age of Empires 4, and today spawning in on the northwest corner of the map, playing in red, we've got Louis MT playing as the Byzantines. And his opponent in the southeast playing in blue, we've got Xerti playing as the Abbasid dynasty. Welcome everyone to Coastal Cliffs. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day and going to be in for a great game. Coastal Cliffs is a map that I'm actually starting to really enjoy. Primarily because of the fact that actually there's not that much gold on it. Like, there's no 8,000 tile gold veins. These ones in the middle are only 4,000. That means these two players run out of gold pretty quickly, and then it turns into a bit of a sort of a slugfest in the middle of the map. Considering also on Coastal Cliffs, the map is relatively narrow. You've got the coast, you've got the cliffs, you've even got fish, but you can't actually take it. So bear that in mind on this map. It's a map which is very narrow, which is also kind of cool because it means that's, you know, basically a limited area that you have to fight over. And so the players do end up venturing out into the middle of the map quite quickly. Especially considering that actually in terms of stone mines, there aren't that many and they're pretty low in terms of how much stone there are. So you take your one at home and then you have to venture out in the middle. I've got to say, having 3 gold clusters like this, 3 gold veins in one screen, also does mean this is like a perfect position for the Byzantines to attack, or for the Abbasid dynasty to try and defend. I mean, considering the matchup, the Abbasid dynasty could potentially go for 2 town centers, 1 town center here on the deer, the gold, and the wood. I think that'd be a fantastic position. Obviously, it's a little bit further forward than maybe you'd like, but hey, you know, you've got to make some compromises. On the Byzantine side of thing, the back gold is going to be definitely helpful, and the economy should be very good for the Byzantines, of course. The extra 10% gather rate on the cistern for these villagers will be incredibly powerful. Abbasid dynasty opening up with a miniature wing, going to get the 3 spearmen, 2 of them and 2 archers, looking to pressurize a little bit early. It's definitely a nice play for the Byzantines, but for the Abbasid dynasty. What it allows them to do is it buys them some time. Allows them to get a bit of time to maybe focus on a second town center, maybe a castle age kind of timing. We'll have to see. Of course, it's typically a second town center, but we'll have to get confirmation of that, I guess. And it's going to be the Grand Winery opening for the Byzantines. So definitely a commonly chosen landmark, definitely more common than the Imperial Hippodrome these days. And rightly so, like an additional 60% extra olive oil from berries and olive groves is absolutely huge. And one thing to bear in mind actually, on a map where gold is relatively low, olive oil as a resource is incredibly powerful for the late game. I'm kind of excited because Coastal Cliffs tends to go to late game situations, and the Byzantines, they do not shy away for the late game, but neither do the Abbasid dynasty. I think something to consider is that when you do get the first golden age tier, it's a really nice boost to the economy, and everything kind of flows naturally from there, right? So when you get tier 2, you're typically in the castle age, you want those research speeds, and when you're in the Imperial age, take a look at that villager gathering rate, 20% extra for all resources, which kind of matches what you can get from the cisterns. If anything, it makes it is better actually. I think overall it's slightly better. Either way, you get the extra research speed and also production speed, which really helps scale unit production. And especially when you factor in the economy that should have behind it with fresh foodstuffs coming in the mill these days, actually. Really does reduce the cost of the villager cost significantly. The ministry now starting to move on out for Xerti, looking to see what damage it can do. It might actually be quite a good spot to try and deny the berries, but Louis MT is wise to the ruse and looks to get an outpost in that forward protection area. He just wants to make sure he gets the food, right? And the olive oil, actually, in fact. So denying olive oil is quite significant. You know, being able to deny the berries being taken. Oh, wait. Would he lose the scout here? Surely not, right? I think he should just about be able to get away with this. And he's cutting it fine here, Louis. Holy moly. But he bought himself some time, right? So the outpost is up now. Although without arrow slits, I don't know about that. Like because you'd actually have to walk forward to it, so he might actually get a couple of arrows before he... it should be okay. He doesn't have a wheelbarrow though, so the villagers will move a little bit slower. Going a bit further to the north here, Xerti. Going around the back just to go for the gold, I suspect. He scouted it out, and EMT just brings the villagers away for now. Yeah, unfortunately, you won't be able to deny that olive oil coming from the berries, which would have been really significant, by the way, because the early mercenaries that you can get can be really powerful, obviously depending which ones you go for. I think on a map like this, the Western mercenary contract really helps. The reason why is because when you think about Keshiks as the alternative, on Coastal Cliffs the map is pretty narrow anyway, So in terms of angles of attack, you don't really have that much of an angle. So I'm kind of expecting to see the Western Mercenary contract, especially because it scales really well to the late game, right? You can add in Landsknechte in the second day or the second tier to it, and you can add in Streltsy in the late tier to it. Streltsy, as a late game unit, is absolutely fantastic. Like, imagine not having to pay any gold for Streltsy, just olive oil. It's incredible. We'll see what he decides to go for, though. He is going to go for the Western Mercenary contract, so yeah, that's going to be fantastic for him. Early longbows, and also possibly Streltsy in the late game. Behind this, though, it will be that second town centre. In fact, he's going to place it a little bit closer back to the back with the stone and the wood, which is kind of curious. It makes you wonder if he's going to go for a third town centre. Like, typically we see this play, when you go for a third town centre, you place the town centre, the second one at least, on the stone. I don't know if that's going to be too greedy. I mean, if there is a civilization... Ooh, apologies for that. That was a bit of jankiness there, wasn't it? But if there's a civilization that can do that, go for a third town centre, it's probably Abbasids, right? And he is doing it. This is where fresh foodstuffs really pays off. Like, the more town centres you have, the bigger the impact of fresh foodstuffs. Looking to get a second town centre himself now, the Byzantines, which I don't necessarily hate, actually, because I think they can do 2 TCs quite well. It's just depending on how you kind of balance it up, right? So if he does get... Oh, we might lose a scout. Just about for the second time. He just times this to perfection, Louis. Holy moly. But yeah, if he does scale the water level to try and keep up, to try and counteract the value that the fresh foodstuffs give the Abbasid dynasty, that could be a way forward. But of course, the cheaper villages by 35% is massive. Gonna add in a stable and double archery range. It's kind of a nice addition, actually, to start off with the archery ranges for the Abbasid dynasty, because it scales really well for them in particular. Not really necessarily for all civilizations, but boot camp really helps in terms of HP. Then also composite bows in the castle age, increasing that attack speed by 33%. It's pretty hefty. I mean, there's some argument to be made of really how valuable that is, because when you do get to the castle age as the Byzantines, you're thinking of things like ringing guards, you're thinking of things like cataphracts, and then archers start to become a little bit less relevant, you know? So it's a tricky one to think about. And there's going to be a stable opening here for the Byzantines as well, added in. A couple of longbowmen just about to pop out. Yeah, it's going to get that water level tier 2 now. We're going to get arrow slits inside the outposts as well, just to give it a little bit of fortification of the base. No, but water level 2 is just about to come on in, and that's going to give them an additional 4% gather rate on the villages. But also, by the way, conscriptio is a thing, of course. It's pretty important, actually. It's going to give the increase in military production by up to 40% now. A pretty passive opening from both players, I've got to say. In fact, actually it doesn't look like it's going to go for a third TC here, the Abbasids. In fact, he just... Was it for arrow slits or something? It's kind of curious. Was he trying to... I mean, he definitely gathered it. Maybe he changed his mind. It's quite possible. But yeah, he's definitely sticking with 2 town centres. Maybe he was trying to bait Louis MT for that. He was trying to make him think, oh, well, Louis, why don't you add a third town centre as well, and then I come and mass produce. But look at the military numbers that Xerxes has. The fact that he's been able to afford all of this is, you know, very expensive units, both horsemen and spearmen added in. And it's because of the fresh food stuff that he's allowed to do this. Both players now looking to get wheelbarrow. Xerxes will get a little bit earlier. And it's an interesting phase of the game. Doesn't necessarily seem like it. Pretty passive early on, but there are some decisions to be made. Like, at what point do both players think about castle age? At what point do they feel comfortable that they can achieve that? Like, I tend to think about castle age when you go up to the next stage. Do you have enough to defend it? Do you have a standing army? Do you have static defenses? Do you have a way of making sure your enemy doesn't end up in your base and killing everything? If the answer is yes, then maybe that's the time to go up. Static defenses are going up now for both players. Looking to protect key resources, the deer camp on the right side. I gotta say, these walls are so valuable here for Louis MT. Look what it protects. Boar and the deer pack. Horseman moving across the map and might get some value on these berries. I mean, he's got to be careful here, Xerxes. Can be torching down the walls on the left side. Wait, what are these? Really? All right, well, okay, you know, the villagers decided, you know, we'll repair, but we'll repair right under their noses, you know. There's no harm here. God, that pathing was not optimal. It's funny to see, but jeez, you wouldn't expect it. Yeah, certainly may, at least with the stone he's got, we'll be able to afford some emplacements. Snaps out a villager, good pick off there. How's it going, mate? Welcome on in on the Twitch side of things. If you guys are wondering what I'm talking about on YouTube, I am streaming live on Twitch these days, so you guys are welcome to join in at some point. I'll leave a link in the video description where you can find me on Twitch. Maybe come say hi sometime. But a good number of units here for Xerti and the Abbasids. He might be able to cut off these longbows, which is actually a big deal. Like, he's actually kind of intercepted this. He takes the fight. He should win it. I mean, don't forget, he should have boot camp. We'll check on that in just a moment, but he will pick up the longbows, most of them. But it doesn't have enough of it doesn't have any of the blacksmith upgrades. The horse, we're going to dive in there a little bit there for Louis to try and pick off as many of those archers as possible. I mean, Xerti needs to tank with his horsemen. I'm not so sure about this fight in the end. I mean, I think he will win it here, Xerti, but yeah, he does win it in the end. The horseman number is just too many. There's a good cleanup actually in the end. Oh god, those longbows are gone. And this is a thing, like, bear in mind the way the English play is this kind of style. I mean, this is obviously not the English, it's the Byzantines, but it's a similar sort of process when you factor in longbows, right? If you move out across the map, like, you got to make sure you win the fights, otherwise you're in danger of losing everything, and things can snowball, and this could potentially be the beginning of that snowball. Horseman about to dive on in and put some pressure on that forward position. But it's just going north. I mean, there's no static defenses here. That's pretty risky. The horsemen know about it. So, yeah, Louis does redirect those villagers. He has to, really. There's no choice. And hasn't got the palisade walls up in the front. It went for very extensive walls and hasn't been able to get it up. And it's quite likely to lose his house in the front position. But it will buy him some time. Water level 3. And maybe Xerti could start to focus on that cistern. Just reduce the economy just a little bit. Behind all of this, though, Xerti's going to go to the culture, with the culture wing to the next stage, to the castle age. Which is absolutely huge, by the way, because again, we talked about it. When you take up to the next stage, you need to make sure your enemy's at home, ideally. You've got to make sure you've got static defenses, you've got a standing army, or at least a couple of those, you know, those three factors, and he actually had all three. Just finish off the palace. Well, to be fair, it's got a lot more to construct, and it's going to keep his army just to help him do that. Now, bear in mind, going to the castle age first is actually really significant. It's kind of crazy how he's been able to afford that, right? It's fresh foodstuffs in a nutshell. But what this will allow him to do is to try and get some of those all-important relics. I've got to say, the positioning is really awkward, right? It feels like three of them... I don't know, it feels like this one is out of place. A little bit further on the side of Louis MT rather than in the middle of the map. Double barracks, so it's going to be the Gulam opening to the castle age, especially with boot camp, pretty powerful. They're just going to go... Wait, what? Did he cancel that? I think he cancelled it and decided to go for the economic wing instead. Interesting choice. I mean, I don't hate it. It's going to make the eco a little bit stronger with Fertile Crescent, but I mean, it's mostly going to be affecting the houses, right? Because I can't imagine it's going to add in more town centres in the castle age. You never know. Never know. Villagers do back away. Managed to survive for now. It almost feels like he's got textiles, does he? Though I don't think he would. Yeah, there's no real reason to get textiles at this point. Archer's getting a good few hits. I mean, that's not a fight that Louis MT can take, right? He's taken a couple of suboptimal fights already in the game, and that's going to hurt him. This could be the second fight in a row that he kind of loses in a big way. He's going to go to the castle age himself with the Golden Horn Tower. He's possibly looking to try and keep Xerti at home, but yeah, looking tricky. Yeah, so the economic wing. The reason why I love this position actually is because we're in the minute of the game where 15 minutes you start thinking about transitions, right? Food transitions in particular, and farms as well. So it kind of, I love the fact that this is a thing in Age of Empires. Like, there are some techs that you can get cheaper farms with, right? So certainly Fertile Crescent is one of them, but also bear in mind things like the Jushi Legacy, some Dynasty. The English get it as a standard thing, which is very nice. So that's the Abbasid Dynasty's version of it. And yeah, Galidako mentions it in chat. And the farms is going to be a big one. I think it definitely pays back a lot quicker than... Well, I think it's definitely more effective than the culture wing to the next stage. Because that farming transition could really hit hard. And I love the timings for the Abbasid Dynasty in this way. Because bear in mind, like, multiple town centers should inhibit your ability to make units. But with the fresh foodstuffs, That's a little bit less so. And then you start thinking about what's the next thing that can stop you making mass units. Well, it's a massive farming transition. There comes Fertile Crescent. And the great thing about having units at this stage of the game, you get map control, you look to try and pick up some of those relics. I say some of them, but hopefully most of them. Longbow's getting a couple of hits, but he's going to try and torch this down. I mean, he does have a couple of those Ghulams, right? So he's going to take advantage of his earlier tech up, but he's not too far behind LUMT. Going to get the Mangan placement inside the outpost, which will work wonders. And does have the veterancy on the longbows, getting some free hits, but it looks like Xerti feels confident in pushing on in, and why not? With the military numbers he's got, he does have Limitane though, so he's got to be careful. Like those Limitane, God, they are a unit that they scale really well, considering Spearman line units usually shouldn't be. Limitane a bit made different. That Magadon placement came in at the perfect time. Those archers, with or without boot camp, they're going to be perishing very quickly. Oh god, those archers. No, I mean, to be fair, we're talking about the lack of scalability of archers in general, and you know, composite bows is great, but losing the archers now probably wouldn't even be worth getting the veterancy upgrade on them. I think it's just going to have to focus on heavily armored units in the form of Ghulam. To be fair, the Ghulam would work pretty well against Limitane. That's probably his thought process behind this, and also the longbows. And the question is when you use an army like this, there's got to be an ulterior motive, right? I'm hoping, for Xerti's sake, he's picking up those relics, and it looks like he is. He's picked up the one in the front position first, which is definitely a smart move. I mean, wait, what? I mean, if he could snag that one, that would have been perfect, but obviously it's a little bit too close for comfort. Village coming out to wall on up, but that has bought him time to pick up 3 of the 5 relics so far, with one more a bit closer to home. So yeah, trading units like that for relics for long-term gains, it's effective, really, isn't it? As long as he doesn't get hit in the next 2-3 minutes with a massive army, which he won't, because to be fair, he's got the military lead, and also the villager lead. Yeah, a couple of units being thrown away here a little bit. We'll get some value. I don't think he necessarily gets a villager out of this. Possibly actually with the Varangian Guards if he focuses on it, but maybe not. Either way, looking to break through on the west side, backing away for now, and Louis does have a couple of units on the map. He's trying to get hold of this relic, right? Oh, it's a bit of a race. There's a race for it. I think Louis gets it, but I mean, he might pick it up, but that's one thing. He's got to take it home. Oh, jeez. He managed to escape with it. The villager lead is starting to really escalate, by the way. I'm not entirely sure why. Like, sure, has he kept his town centers idle here, Louis? Did he add a 3rd town center? It's kind of confusing how he's managed to build up a lead. Like, sure, he had a lead earlier, but it wasn't this extensive. Either way, what's happened has happened, and he might actually pick up this relic in the end. There is a mangonel placement in that outpost, which makes it a little bit tricky. I think he's continuing to make archers too, which is kind of a curious decision at this stage of the game. Good numbers of Ghulam though still alive, and I love the fact he's adding in crossbows. I gotta say though, the economy difference, the speed of gathering here is actually kind of bonkers. Like, it's almost triple the amount of wood, quadruple the amount of wood. A significant amount of gold extra, and pretty much neck and neck on food, to be fair, but you know, all these things combined is pretty hefty. Oh, he's gonna get the smash and grab, and he's gonna get it. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Hold the phone. The longbowman range is a little bit too much. They're definitely battling it out for this one relic, right? It should be the case that Louis Empty gets it. He's got one monk coming out. I think he's making these archers, but he doesn't have the veterancy on them. I'm not. Maybe it's just a mistake. Maybe they're gonna race for the relic again. Okay, so he backs away from that one this time. Smart play. I love that play. That's huge. Like, he could have committed to that. Oh, he lost the. Forget it. He lost the monk anyway. Forget it. Forget it. We can only dream, right? It would have been awesome if he just kept the monk there just a little bit further back, you know, and then just timed it to perfectly. But he jumped the gun. It was a false start. He moved out too quickly before he should have, and loses it anyway. Oh my god, this is what the Abbasid do so well. Like, the smoothness of the civilization at times is just a sight to behold. Look at the mangonels. And he can make another couple more too if he wanted to. And considering the Byzantines have got a full infantry-based army, that's not looking good for Louis. He's going to have to get some springald somehow, but he can't really afford it. Oh god, that's good. That mangonel outpost though is getting so much value. He's going to find a way to deal with this Xerti. Like, maybe, I don't think he, okay. He's going to get the relic in the end. after all that. But he needs to find a way to deal with that outpost. Like, it has been fortified, and maybe try and torch his way down, but he's going to suffer some losses doing so. I don't think he can. I think he has to back away and get some other forms of siege, maybe rams or something. But I love the power spike for the Abbasid dynasty being able to build these on the field, because what it forces the enemy to do is to deploy a siege workshop, right? Like, you have to eventually. And there it is. The kind of cool thing about this situation for Xerxes as well is the Imperial Age could potentially come in with the culture wing, which could be not that useful, because you need preservation of knowledge, to be fair. It's really preservation of knowledge that makes it cheaper, but okay, I got excited for a second there, guys. I'm allowed to have those moments, okay? The farms are coming up. He's working on them. He's working on them. It makes a lot of sense with his wood income. Should be able to get those farms up pretty quickly. On the other side of things, though, I'm kind of interested to see what the Olive Grove transition is like. It's pretty decent. One thing I'm kind of worried about for the Abbasid dynasty, they've had a lot of positioning on the map for quite some time, but olive oil is starting to kick in. And mercenaries could become a thing. And let's take a look at the gold, right? Because we talked about earlier in the cast how gold is actually quite limited on this map. You don't have any 8,000 gold tiles. And this is definitely going to be a hotly contested area. Like, this gold, this stone, 2 stone piles. This could be tricky. But I don't think Louis has an answer to these. He's got 1 springald. I'm not sure it's going to be enough. Like, although it might be if he keeps it protected. Good, I'm going to try and chase it down. But the mangonels can take out the springald itself, by the way. Not a problem. Horsemen about to dive in on the right side and try and do as much damage as they can, but they can't really get the flank on it just yet. Looks like he's going to try and pick off a villager. He will get it in the end, but the outpost is up, so it gives him the extra vision at least. And I think it's going to come down to keep placements. Yeah, there we go. That's a beautiful keep there by Zed, and it will go up, and there's no way to deny that. And that's going to keep these 2 stones safe. Like, there's no way Louis Empty can safely take that. That's a massive position. Like, that is huge. This gold vein, not really contestable easily there for Xerxes, but we'll see. Just regrouping a little bit here, Xerxes. You've got to protect the siege, actually. He's got to be careful about that. This horseman always threatening to attack in that position. But he's always got that keep to fall back to now, right? The military numbers looking great here for Louis. He's at full population capacity, but I'm a bit worried for Louis' position, because the thing is, at this stage of the game, it really pays off to have the stronger economy, because eventually this turns into a meat grinder, and he who has a bigger bank of resources typically wins. Because it turns into a meat grinder, and then it comes down to a situation, well, who could just keep mass producing their army and replace it when it's lost? And it's a case where if you kind of forego the extra economy for more military now, you have to make it count, right? And so, to be fair, in a way it could work if it does give you map control of these key resources. The trouble is keep in a perfect spot. This is going to be a tough push. Like, Louis MT, if he spends the next 10-15 minutes just regaining this area, first of all, half of it might be mined out, but second of all, in that time, Xerxes, all he has to do is just try and protect with what he has, and let his economy do the talking later on. Build up a bank of resources, and you're good to go. Of course, Louis has other ideas. He's going to rush in with his Varangian guards and tank it as much as he can. Couple of springalds, but they get taken out, and to be fair, those 2 springalds for Louis MT might get a lot of damage out here. He needs to take the mangonels if he can. Horsemen are all gone. Varangian guards tanking against the Gulam, but a good number of crossbows here for Xerxes. And that military advantage he had, it's gone down in a blink of an eye. This could be a tough spot. Bear in mind, though, that keep, he's got to find a way to deal with that. And there's the first of maybe a couple of trebuchets, because it'll take quite some time for just 1 trebuchet to work through. We'll see what he can do. Alright, it will be the culture wing to get to the next stage. No real surprises there. I actually I like it a lot, because, okay, sure, the Imperial Age is the full cost, but actually a lot of the Imperial Age technologies are very expensive. So the discount you get, 20% off, is a big deal in total resources. Of course, he's got a bank of resources anyway, so shouldn't find it too difficult to afford things, but you know, every little bit helps in this sort of scenario. Gulam's charging on in. There's a good front line there for the Abbasids. There's a bit of a weak front line there for Louis. I'm a bit worried about his position. Loses the springald. He does have a good number of longbows, which of course were all paid by olive oil. One thing to consider, by the way, I love the fact that actually Xerxes has ranged units in terms of crossbows. if there's ever a switch to horsemen for the Byzantines, it feels like it's a mistake, right? Because the spearmen have phalanx upgrades here for the abbasids. It's an incredibly strong upgrade for them. I'd argue the abbasids actually have one of the most strongest spearmen in the game. Obviously, I'd probably say the Limitani is probably the best overall, but a phalanx upgrade for the abbasids and their spearmen makes it work pretty well. Does keep the keep alive for now. Needs to buy a little bit more time. Village is coming out to repair. Does have a decent amount of stone in the bank. The trouble is though, that trebuchet has been working hard for quite some time. In fact, there's 3 of them. And you know what? We've been seeing this quite commonly actually. The stone walls in front of the trebuchets to keep it safe. It used to be a commonly done thing by the English. And looks like Louis MT is doing it again with the Byzantines this time. Heading forward though with 2 Springles and 2 Mangonels. Keeping the keep alive just for the short term. But he's losing villages, right? So eventually, I think that will go down. But he is buying time. It does go down in the end. The trebuchet does its work. And yeah, that wall is... that's got to be annoying there for Xerxes because the Springles can't take them out because of it. Speaking of Springles, Louis MT loses his. And so it looks like Xerxes is starting to get a bit more of a positioning again. But look at the bank of resources for the Byzantines. This is where things become really scary. Having said that, Xerxes did spend a lot of resources to get to the Imperial Age. So his tech up timing now is great. He's getting the upgrades, he's getting roller shutter triggers, he's getting what he needs. He's getting the elite Gulam. It's going to take a bit of time for Louis MT to get to the Imperial Age. He has to build the landmark first. I wonder what he's going to go with. It's got to be going for the engineering company. Right there it is. Has to be. So you can make those Hui Hui Pow, of course. It's got to be Hui Hui Pow. You don't want to make anything else. No. You don't want royal cannons. You want Hui Hui Pow. Mr. Louis MT, please make Hui Hui Pow. It's got water level 5, so it can be cranking up the village gather rate, but also production speed. Of units, 26%. Extra gathering. Not too shabby. But it's been a cracking game of Age of Empires 4 so far, and well, this is definitely going to go up to YouTube. Speaking of which, by the way, if you guys are watching on YouTube and you haven't enjoyed the casts, you know, say you like watched 4 or 5 of them and you've been enjoying them, I think now's the time to subscribe if you haven't already, because you don't want to miss the next one, right? I'm going to make sure that the only the best casts that I do end up on YouTube, because I mean, ultimately, people's times are limited, so I'm going to make sure that the games that I put up are the best. And that wall actually is going to go around it, and I mean, the thing is, for Louis, he doesn't really have enough anti-siege, I think, at this point. He's got trebuchets, but how does he deal with the Mangonels? Having said that, that Mangonel outpost has always been a bit of a thorn in the backside of the Abbasids. He's never really been able to push it. Gets a good Mangonel shot. And all of a sudden, the map positioning for Louis is a bit tricky, right? He's spent a lot of resources to get to that Imperial Age. Sacred Site capped for Louis. I wonder whether actually Xerxes will go for a Sacred Site positioning, because he's got good map control now. It makes a lot of sense to try and challenge for it at least. And he's got good control of the stone. He needs to mop this up. Like, there's a significant amount of stone here. There's about 2 keeps worth, and that could be massive. Speaking of keeps, well, Louis MT is trying to get his... Oh, no. Oh, God. He took so much... Oh, no, he lost it all. He lost it all. All that stone gone in a blink of an eye. The Mangonel shots were absolutely clutched there by Xerxes. Oh, Louis. Because he started building it and he didn't cancel it. He lost all the stone. No, Louis. I mean, that's terrible, right? Because he's got no right to get this stone. And he's just lost whatever he had. And, oh, that's a big kick in the teeth. Like, when you're playing a game this long, 30 minutes on the clock, to get hit like that, that's a big dent in the morale, you gotta say. But, hey, look, Louis, these guys are professionals, so he'll look past it. He'll look to find a way back. He'll look to find a way to reset his psyche and try and figure a way that he can just forget about what just happened, because that was traumatic. He lost the... Oh, God, the repairs coming in as well. Oh, God, it's not looking good for Louis. Everything is going the other way at this point. Oof. Ouch. All right, Gally, thanks for hopping in, by the way. Appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you have a good day and good rest, and maybe I'll see you tomorrow, maybe. Who knows? But that was huge. Losing that keep. Guys. Man. Jeez. Oh, God, that's painful. Louis MT just has to reset, recalibrate, regroup, and recover. Xerxes getting emplacements inside the outpost as well. I wonder what the game plan is from here, though, by the way. Because I'm not sure, actually, how this one works out. Because the Abbasid dynasty will have a strong economy. The extra 20% gathering rate on resources. Plus the 15 from tier 1. I'm pretty sure it's cumulative, by the way. But it's up against the 26% from the cisterns and the water levels, but also the olive oil. And I think olive oil is actually really quite important because as gold gets run out on the map, olive oil is actually a decent alternative to it, right? He can afford Streltsy, and he can afford, importantly, Siege as well. Two kind of heavily gold-orientated units. And he can get it for olive oil pretty much forever, right? But the Abbasids, they don't have such capability. So I do feel like the game eventually has to be pressurized by the Abbasids, right? I don't think you can afford just to sit back all the time. Now gold is slowly being sucked off the map. I think that's actually the last gold mine that's available. Of course he does have 4 relics, which certainly helps, and he's looking to get the other sacred site as well. Potentially. But look at that olive grove transition. There's so much olive oil coming in because of it. The one relic that Louis MT does have, by the way, is in the Grand Winery. So he's getting some olive oil from that. Oh, he's going to lose the siege. Xerti, he missed it. He missed the positioning there for sure. He might be able to save this. I don't think he doesn't save that, right? Surely not. Oh, he saves it. For now. Does it go down? Oh, Xerti. Okay, yeah, he loses it in the end. Understandably so. I mean, the fact he kept it alive for that long was pretty impressive in itself. And look at these longbows, fully upgraded with incendiary arrows, elite longbowmen. I mean, sure, they're up against Gulam, but they still tank pretty decently against them. They do a lot of damage for sure, but Gulam is supposed to be countering them, especially if they gap close like this. That's kind of huge. You're going to lose the trebuchets potentially here. I wonder if these I mean, the Phalanx should get 1 trebuchet, maybe two. Wait, he's not addressing the situation, Louis. He might lose more than just 1 because of that. Horseman diving in around the back, and the longbows, they're focusing on the Gulams and not the spearmen, understandably so, because those Gulams are right on top of them. He's going to lose all 3 trebuchets. Guys, that is significant. That is absolutely huge. He does take out the outpost, but, you know, you want to keep those trebuchets alive. Oh, he keeps one alive, actually, to be fair. Nest of bees. It's the nest of bees. Louis is come to party. Oh, decent shot. It was okay. It wasn't too bad for Zertan. Managed to back away. What a crazy game. It's hard to tell who could win, but I do feel like the Byzantines are favoured in the super late game, but it's by no means a formality, right? There's always still options here for the Abbasids, especially with the 4 relics. Takes out the nest of bees, which is a good start. Mangonel deploys, the horsemen about to try and dump on that, but archers, elite archers, can they try and body block? They do body block. Has incendiary arrows himself, so the straight up archer fight will actually benefit Zertin, right? Because he's got boot camp, he's got the composite bows. So I think up against longbows he should be okay as long as he can gap close and longbows don't just keep them at bay with the range. We'll see how he navigates this. And that template there for the keep just reminds us of the big damage that happened earlier. The disaster for the Byzantines. Olive Grove transitions around the back a little bit. It could turn into a wood gamer, by the way. I gotta say, like, sure, it's one thing, but again, like Olive Oil and the engineering company for the Byzantines, siege can be made without wood or gold. 2 resources that are slightly kind of rare on this map at the moment, I gotta say. Of course, we're gonna try and raid rather. They have to get through the palisades first, which shouldn't take them too long. Although the Golem's going to catch up to the vast majority of these archers, getting good damage, and by the time he breaks on through, I mean, he might not have that many horsemen. I mean, Villager's coming out to repair. I mean, sure, he gets in with 1 horseman in the end. That's not ideal. That was such a big commitment for that. To be fair, just horsemen, so just food and wood. He's got plenty of that anyway, but still. Trying to get a bit of a raid on in, and he does have the ability to deploy Akrator actually for these villagers. In fact, that's just been added now to these ones, giving them extra armor, but also extra attack. There's a good number of horsemen going to get around on those archers, but adding in the Gulams and the meat shield once again. The Gulams will tank heavily for the archers, then to do some damage on the back line, getting good damage. Going to focus on the longbows for now. It's kind of a tricky situation for Zert. Wait, is he trading? Oh my god, he's actually trading. It's kind of funny. I mean, to be fair, he kind of has to, right? Because how else does he get a significant amount of gold? I mean, to be fair, he's getting more gold than the Byzantines are, but of course the Byzantines don't necessarily rely on it when they've got olive oil in play. That's a lot of units. This is where the Limitana become really scary, by the way. The shield wall ability makes it difficult for archers to take them out, although extra attack speed will help. He's taking the fight. The horseman diving on in. A couple of Streltsy in the back line, actually. That's kind of huge. We're starting to see that tech into Streltsy now with the Olive Oil. It's going to be significant. If you can build up a large number of Streltsy, this could be really difficult for the Abbasids to deal with. Going to retreat back behind the palisades. That's the only thing he can really do here, Xerxes, at the moment. Is to try and mass up his army once again, although he does have a good number of them. But look at the red units trickling on in. This is where things become a little bit scary, right? They start to mass up a lot of units. Horseman getting a bit of a raid, but yeah, the Abbasids will deal with that eventually. Definitely a meat grinder of a game. I mean, it looks like Zertan is kind of grouping together. He's got two mangonels and it's going to take one big fight, you feel, rather than mixing the army up. Looks like in the other hand, though, Louis going to try and raid as much as he can. And he is still trying to trade. 46 gold coming in. Every bit helps, I guess. Oh, the horseman going to go around the back to try and start the mangonels if they can. Good number of archers. Oh, he almost directed himself to the archers, but he did then go for the mangonels. I don't think he gets it in the end. Oh, he gets one. That's a good pick off. Horsemen have broken on through, so there's going to be a decent amount of raiding here. Xerxes got to be careful not to lose too many villages to this. But he does have a keep back at home to protect that economy. Nice addition there. Gotta say though, he's moving on forward and is doing some damage for sure. Gulam's archers, mangonels. Just 3 horsemen round the back. Not going to be able to get too much more value out of that, I wouldn't have thought. Mangonels deploy. Doesn't quite land anything. The spearmen took care of that one horseman round the back, but 2 of these horsemen just... yeah, I mean... That's a bit of a bait. Should be focusing on the villages, but either way, on the front, good number of archers. Mangonel deploys on the longbows. Longbows back away in time. Still a good stronghold for both players in the middle of the map. How's it going, Portuguese? Welcome in on Twitch chat. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Oh yeah, he started to focus on the villages now, but the spearmen, yeah, definitely got more than enough. You'll lose a handful of villages. Nothing to be too concerned about those, Xerxes. At full population capacity, of course. Ooh, couple of Landsknechte being added in there for Louis. That could be actually pretty scary to face up against in a good army composition. As a support unit, they could really get some damage in if they do engage in the front lines. They've got to get there though. Got to get through the archer numbers. Mangonel deploys. Does have a nest of bees. He's going to get on top of the nest of bees with the Gulams most likely. Although, wait, fire? Nest of bees. There we go. Gets a volley off. Doesn't do all that much damage in the end. Surprisingly enough. Mangonel deploys on the longbows. Doesn't get too much value though because it was on spread formation. Trying to get the walls up on the west side, but horsemen riding on in. Uh-oh. Xerxes might lose quite a lot of villages there, but he's got a bank of resources to be fair. That might actually help him out. It will free up some population space, but he is looking to get more stone walls on the map. Trying to carve up that left side and keep it protected, just to narrow the choke points a little bit. Is it looking a bit dicey though on the front lines there? Louis got to be careful, like he's trying to raid, right? So a lot of his army's not in one spot to fight. Speaking of which, the spearmen. I'm not so sure about horsemen, right? It's so difficult to get value at times because the number of spearmen that are on the field and how narrow the map is. And, well, of course, the Abbasids get some of the best spearmen in the game. It's going to be a trash war. Units that don't cost gold. Although the Byzantines can get some Streltsy out if they wish to. Every so often. Gotta say, though, Xerxes starting to push on forward a little bit. It's looking pretty promising with this number of units. I mean, Louis can't really keep up. He's got defender's advantage, which certainly helps. But slowly but surely, he's being pushed back pretty heavily. Sacred Site victory is approaching. Xerxes going to try and keep that alive for as long as possible. That's a potential win condition. Around the back, though, this is where some of the army is for the Byzantines. Trying to raid as much as possible. We'll get some raiding value. Question is, though, would he lose positioning on the front lines because of it? And that's the big question. That's the big answer needed. Those spearmen are going to absolutely rip through those horsemen. Oh, that front line just absolutely disintegrates in a second. He even has an imam just to heal on up, just for good measure. But the raid is still continuing. These horsemen actually getting good value in the end. I mean, more value than I expected they would. He's kind of running out of food now, Xerti. That's actually kind of a concern. Plenty of wood in the bank. Like, that's 4,000 food coming in for Louis MT and the olive oil because of it. 1,000 food, gold. It's not gold, it's olive oil per minute. Instead of gold, it's pretty impressive to have. Xerti trying to fix that farming problem, that food economy. To get more farms. He's in a good spot in the middle though. He's got a good number of units, and if he can try and hold that sacred site, could be ideal. He doesn't have enough stone for another keep. I tell you who almost does though, Louis. He might be able to buy that rest of the stone he needs. But he might be a bit cautious about how he places the next one, having lost the other one earlier on in the game. Well, that's a bit overkill. Royal Cannon sniping down the monk, or the imam I should say. He's going to try and deny the walls on the left side. It's a smart move. And we have to think about wood, right, at this point. He's got plenty of wood banked up. Both players have, to be fair, but wood is starting to dry up. Down in the middle, though, he's starting to make a big push. He's going to get some of the stone walls up. The Limitane, I've got to say, they are melting. Considering their shield wall ability is so strong, these archers are doing a lot of damage, but it is buying time for the mangonels to deploy. He's trying to gap close the spear. I'm going to get on close on top of that. I think he clears this up. This is huge. If he gets the siege, that's going to be massive, and that means that's going to allow the composite bows archers with boot camp to take out the longbowmen. A couple of horsemen diving on in, but spearmen still in good numbers, and he loses all the mangonels. That's massive. Incendiary arrows on these archers is absolutely massive. He's taking out the horsemen. There's just not too many of them. There's not enough, and yeah, sure, Louis MT's trickling in units, but one by one they're getting sniped, and Xerti pushing on out. He's trying to get some palisade walls. He's trying to extend the defenses. But once again, Louis is under pressure. It's like a yo-yo. He's still raiding around the back though. Another group of horsemen. I mean, to be fair, whilst it being a narrow map, Louis has done a great job of raiding a lot. Having said that, how effective it is, I'm not so sure, because Xerti's still at 200 population, right? It's kind of bonkers. Comes in with another wave though. Those spearmen need to engage with those horsemen and front line for those archers if they can. But he's still continuing to raid. I mean, he's got to be careful here, Xerti, because sometimes you look back and then you're like at 50 vills. And then it's very hard to come back into the game after that. Spearmen, they need to brace against the horsemen. Archers will pick off these Limitane if they can. I mean, to be fair, he's actually got a really good massive units. I mean, okay, that's a big massive Limitane though. They've got the shield wall ability on as well. This could be dicey. We'll see what he can do and try and micro his way out of this. And looks like most of the raids have stopped, so he'll be okay on that front, Xerti, but he's got to take away the Limitane. He's being trapped in a corner, to be fair. A good thing there's no gold units here. He should be able to replace his army pretty quickly. In the meantime, is he still trading? He's just trying to take as much wood off the map as possible. This is a crazy game. Right, he's going to take the fight. Allows the spearmen to tank against the Limitane. Allow him to try and get the abbasid dynasty archers to do the rest. And to be fair, they're doing a decent job of it. I mean, he'll take out the front line mostly. The reinforcements are coming in clutch, right? The defender's advantage. I mean, ultimately, it's just about Xerti trying to make the most of this and buy time. So we try and take out the wood on the left side potentially here. But yeah, I don't think there's much wood on the map left. There's only these kind of small individual trees. I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? These archers still working hard. They're still getting value. Horsemen diving on now. I'm surprised to see not the Mangonel not just trying to wipe this out. This is buying a lot of time. It's allowing now the abbasid dynasty to go on the west side. Change of his plan of attack. Yeah, but this time round, I think this time there's going to be a big push off, and he should be able to kill these archers now with the Limitane and the horsemen. But it bought some time. The abbasid now going to challenge on the west side. Plenty of spearmen, plenty of rams. I said plenty too. It's a decent number. Got to take out the Mangonel placements inside the outpost though. Those could devastate those spearmen. Oh god, he's getting hit heavily. Especially with the longbowmen there. Diving a little bit too quickly there, I think. Those mangonel placements, he's got to find a way to take those out first with siege, ideally. Spearman about to go on through and do some damage. He's always had a good positioning and foothold in the middle of the map, though. Doesn't have access to the sacred site on the right side. There is an outpost there for the Byzantines, just to make sure it doesn't fall under the hands of the Abbasids. But that front line is almost non-existent for the Byzantines now. Having to focus on longbows. Which, to be fair, is not a bad thing to have to rely on. Unless he gets surrounded, which is quite an option, quite a possibility. And the Mangonel comes out for Byzantines, though. Should push the archers back now. Jeez, this is a crazy back and forth game. Tried to build up a bit of mass number of rams, but Horseman Limitane gonna dive on top of that and take them out. Or some of at least. Some of them will be able to get behind the stone walls, which did go up in the end and is built around those palisades that Louis was trying to cause problems with. Looks like there's a push now coming in for Louis. Taking the fight. I mean, those spearmen go right up against those horsemen. That's not a great engagement by Louis. He's got the archers on the wall as well, so even if they're hit by the Mangonel, which they are, they do take some decreased damage. There we go. 25% less. Or 50% actually if I'm siege. Still actually got hit quite badly though. But all of a sudden Xerxes pushing this out. I mean, this is kind of crazy, right? He's actually going to win this fight in a big way. He should be able to take out the Mangonel, and all of a sudden that yo-yo effect. Louis MT is going to have to be the one that's defensive, but will he be able to hold on this time? Because that is a lot of miniature, guys. 101. I don't think we've seen this differential in miniature counts for, well, quite some time. Certainly looking rough on the right side. Maybe Xerxes might look to try and push. He's actually pushing with rams and a couple of spearmen. Actually, this is not looking good for Louis at all, because he's losing the right side position. He's losing the left side position. He's going to dive in here, potentially, Xerxes. He's got plenty of resources to fall back onto if he needs to keep making units. Not quite the food income that the Byzantines have, although that could change pretty quickly if he gets raided, which is quite a potential of happening. Still though, those composite bow archers, they're getting so much value. Like, okay, we talked about the lack of maybe scalability, but in this sort of scenario where there are no gold units anymore, this is where these archers actually become really strong. This is kind of clutch to think about it. There's limited gold on this map, so actually these guys actually are very relevant. Even in the Imperial Age, because actually the only unit that these can't really do too much damage on is heavily armored units, which cost gold. But there just aren't any gold on there's just no gold on the map. Especially with the choice of mercenary contract for the Byzantines, he opted for the English, well, not the English contract, but the Western contract that gives them access to Streltsy in the late game. Which again, you know, they're not a heavily armored unit, so they can get sliced and diced by these archers. He's just going to camp this area now, which is kind of crazy to think about. He's lost quite a few villagers now, Louis, in that last aggression. And he's trickling. Look at the sea of blue coming on in, the stream, the trickle of all these units. And all he has to do is grip up together once again and then take a fight coordinated. It could be devastating if there's rams on the way. Because there's one thing pushing with units, there's another thing pushing with units with siege to take out production and also other infrastructure buildings. Maybe that's what he's opting for now with those rams joining in. Say those rams, there's only two. Yep. In fact, maybe three, maybe four. Okay, now they're starting to build up. Now I like it. Now it's looking good. But yeah, he's going to be lacking wood income here. Both players are, to be fair, to an extent. Oh, he's going to go for another raid. It's quite I'm not so sure about this raid, actually, if he goes for it. Because, again, whilst he's being pushed, it's going to increase the population capacity for military, at least for Xerxes, if he does lose villagers. He might even consider cheekily killing some villagers and deleting them, and then make them back later if you need to. Just to sustain this push a little bit. Oh, no, the archers, they get surrounded. Massive surround there by Louis. Perfect pick off. Oh, that was a bit of an oversight there by Xerxes. Didn't keep the spearmen close by, and in a blink of an eye, I mean, he loses a lot of units. It's coming in with mass horsemen here, the Byzantines. Wasn't expecting to see it, but he's making it work, you know. Plus the fact they get extra bonus damage against siege. Doing rams, that's pretty hefty. Cavalry numbers start to dwindle. Look at the sea of dead red bodies of cavalry, the armor. He's losing a lot. But looks like the Abbasids backing off for now. It's got a couple of Ghulam added into the mix, by the way, courtesy of those relics. To be fair, he's actually got 31. That's a lot. Oh no. Is he going to try it again? Is he going to try again? Does he have enough? That's the question. And to be fair, I think if it's dirty, you just challenge it. If he sees the keep being something built, I mean, he's got a mangonel. Might try the old trick again, like he just did. The horseman diving on in. I don't know if there's enough spearmen because the horsemen get a massive wraparound. And whilst this is happening, the villagers now come out to play. They're going to try and build and construct that keep. And they should be able to manage it. I mean, this horseman getting great value. But he's still 103 military here, Xerti. They're just not all in the engagement. That's all. Trying to get the keep. And it's quite possible he does manage to get it. Well, we'll have to see. The reason why this keep position is so strong, it gives them access to wood still. I mean, they're kind of crazy. Look at the spearmen. I mean, it almost sometimes seems that the horsemen are winning, but they're just not. Those spearmen doing so much damage. And the keep will go up. But I can't imagine it'll be too long before it goes down. We'll have to see, because he's got plenty of spearmen and melee units to torch it down. Does he have boiling oil? Not just yet. Let's take care of the army first. Now he's going to start to torch it down. Understand me so? The trouble for Xerti, though, is that if he doesn't torch it down, that keep, it's not going to be easy for him to afford siege, especially if he gets sniped. That's even a double whammy. A unit that's hard to make, then get sniped, is not a good idea. But the spearmen still trying to keep those horsemen away to allow the archers to do their thing. Longbow's getting good value for the Byzantines. The trouble for Byzantines, look at the wood. He's got no wood left. That's kind of massive. He can't actually make units. He can't make archers. He's got no wood. He's got no gold. This is not looking good. Not one bit. I mean, where even is Xerti getting wood from? Okay, it's this position here. Might make sense to move out here where the keep is if he can. Take the keep down. Horseman charging on the two rams. The rams trying to batter that keep down. He's struggling for it though. But look at this. Louis MT. He's lost a lot of villages, by the way. And he's losing the military numbers. Whilst they keep escalating for Xerti. Could this be the moment? Could this be the turn where the Abbasids smell blood and look to try and continue this push? It'd make a lot of sense to. At least from what we see, of course. The mangonel placement is in now, eventually. It looks like this keep might go down, which is possibly the last stronghold for the Byzantines in many ways. Once that goes down, it looks like the Abbasid dynasty will just run on in. And yeah, he's having to rely on horsemen, but he doesn't have the wood for them. Sure, they're not like super expensive on wood, but when you've only got 17 wood in the bank, every wood bit helps. He's starting to group together once again in the middle. Xerti is actually a little bit low on population supply, bear in mind, surprisingly enough. I say a little bit low, but Louis is miles behind. No doubt about it. And it's mostly horsemen in his mainstay army, which is weak in number. And that's not going to cut it. Not against Ghulam spearmen. Foreign engineering company about to go down. This could potentially be a landmark snipe. We'll have to see. But Louis MT's being... I'm not so sure about this. We could see the GG coming in soon. He's got a good bank of food. He's got no wood. He might have to buy it and sell the food. I'm not so sure. Either way, finding it difficult to gather wood. What he's going to find difficult to do is take this fight. Archers, be careful. Need to get the spearmen in position and then attack with the archers. Good micro by the longbowman for Louis MT, trying to extract as much value as possible. But now is the time for Xerti to gap close and engage. The spearmen take on the horsemen. I mean, to be fair, the spearmen will be fantastic getting at those horsemen. Doesn't even need the archers to fire off on those horsemen here, Xerti. Just need to focus on the longbows, shield wall. Well, there's no limitane. That could have been an option to spam out, but you know, it's tricky, right? There's no cavalry here for the Abbasids, and you kind of wonder. I love the fact he's gone for the mass infantry because limitane is a stronghold unit for the Byzantines, but there's just no use for it in this case. Xerti, he's raiding. Oh no, Louis is down to 20 military. He's down to 7-7 economy, and there it is. He taps out. The push in the end was just way too strong. A cracking game of Age of Empires 4. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. More importantly, subscribe to the channel for all things Age of Empires 4. Take care, and see you next time.